Wingman 115 2016 SHOT Show coverage brought to you by Tops Knives. One knife, one life. This is John with the Wingman 115 channel at SHOT Show 2016. We put out a search party. We found him, Mr. Joe Flowers, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Joe.
I even showered this morning. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing awesome. Now, at SHOT Show, you guys are putting out some exciting new stuff this year. We put a few things on the table. Can we talk about them and tell the viewers about it and a little bit of the thought process that went into designing these?
Sure. So this year we have a lot of new items, as usual. We're listening to everybody out there, trying to make sure that we're a company that listens to everything from YouTubers all the way down to even the trolls that are probably going to be putting stuff underneath the YouTube videos. So everybody. And we found that there were a few people who wanted a fillet knife that was very, very flexible, and that could be used for a myriad of different applications. That would also float.
Really?
Yeah, so wood floats. You can do cork. That's one of the reasons they use cork as well. But wood floats, and there's a chamber in here to help keep this afloat if it falls into the water. It is called the Fin Master, and it is a new knife that we have. It has a walnut handle, and it comes with a leather sheath, as with all of our items. We have a new size for the Garuda, just a little bit smaller, 4.5 inch or a 4-inch blade. This one's very, very applicable to both tactical, bushcraft, and woods use, with an extended pommel on the back, skeletonized handle, full flat grind. As you can see, full flat grind. There it is.
Now, are you making these out of what, 1070?
1075.
1075.
Yeah, they've been working with this steel for over 60 years, so they've got it down as far as the heat treat, and they're very, very confident with the steel. We are looking at some other steels though, maybe in 2017, maybe some 01 or some 1095 or something, fingers crossed. If you guys keep yelling about it, maybe they can do it. Yell at them about it.
It has a very sharp spine for folks out there that are crazy town about that. It does have a very sharp spine.
It's interesting that you say that too, because nowadays in the knife business, back in the 1990s, 1980s, everybody wanted a rounded spine, and they considered it bad if you had a sharp spine. It was like, oh man, they didn't finish the knife.
Right.
And so now all the knife companies are trying to wrap their heads around why people, of course we know why, but why people would want a sharp edge on the back of their knife to use for fire steel and scrape items, etc. This is a Swamp Romper. I'll let you check that out.
Oh yeah.
This is we wanted to do something that was a little bit different than all the other point down the center line, skeletonized handle, bushcraft knives out there. So outdoorsmen all over the world can appreciate this, whether you're a hunter, a woodworker, all the way to just your average Joe. But it's got a full flat grind with a Scandinavian grind. So we got one grind there, bam, another grind there, bam. Really easy to sharpen.
And we're talking what, 1/8 inch thick?
Yep, yeah, 1/8 inch thick.
And I think that's a smart move, because I think a lot of folks are putting too much bulk in their blades, 1/4 inch, some of them 3/16, and it's like a tool. Absolutely. If you learn your tool, you get proficient with it. There's no reason why you can't use a 1/8 blade. A lot of the old school, I'm talking frontier guys, that's all they had was 1/8 blades.
It really is. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research with a couple of different museums and getting measurements and looking at their knives and photographing them, and out in a lot of different American frontiersman style books that are out there, and they're even thinner than 1/8. Some are 3/32, some are micro thin, but they're like this long.
Right.
And it's really, really interesting to note, the thick knife factor.
Right.
Because you give that to, I don't know, the guy from Revenant, and he'd look at it and probably go, man, I don't want to have to work out today using this knife. So thin knives will cut just as well, if not better.
Well, for a lot of those frontier guys, ounces turn into pounds real quick.
Yeah,
and even though you're putting that on a pack animal, it's still, you're tiring that animal out. And if you had to carry it yourself, I mean, you would probably ditch half your gear.
I mean, if we followed the trends now, and I listen to and we listen to everybody out there, they seriously, anybody ever does when they pull their knife out of pack is just baton it and then make a video about it, and then they're like, oh, done, the knife did well, it batons, it does that. When you really use a knife for 3 hours to 4 hours straight, you get to really appreciate all the other factors of a knife. And you appreciate a thin knife when you're using it, and the finesse that you can do when you use such an item.
Cool. Now you guys have some axes that you're
Yes.
introducing this year.
Yes. This is Cloudburst, my baby. I've been I've been working on this for about 4 years. There are so many Swedish, and I've got Granser Brucks, I've got some Holtefers, I've got Wetterling's axes, and I love them to death. I was a user before I ever was a whatever you call a designer or something like that. But and so I love axes. Got a building at home. Wife is gonna kill me because I keep buying more. But man, they're all Swedish style. They're all European. You see the same axe style over and over again, just in a different size. So what happened to the sexy that we had back in the 1900s, the American style axes, the Kelly Perfect, the True Temper axes, and so I wanted to bring an American style axe back. Of course, that's removable. If you don't like it, you can put it on your other axes as well. But this is a Cloudburst. It's a 23-inch hickory handled, 1.5 pound axe that will split very, very well, but will still chop and do a lot of very, very fine craftsmanship as well. Check it out.
Now, are you guys hand forging these, or how are we doing that?
Yes, they're hand forged, but we have a big, like
drop
everybody
hammer?
else, giant drop hammer. But there's a guy who's sitting over there and takes it through the dies and looks at it to make sure everything's right, and then they finish it off. Well, make it the same way the guys in Sweden do.
I'm just a history buff, and when I walked up to the booth, my family's with me, we were checking it out, and I was oogling over this one because I just love old school, traditional looking stuff. It just brings back that nostalgia that just makes you want to get out in the woods. You're smelling a wood fire.
Right.
You're having a cup of coffee.
Grow beer if I could. If I could.
Like we're
beer too.
like we're mountain men.
Yeah, and there's some really cool old style etched axes out there. Some with the huge crow. I can't remember which one right off the bat, but everybody knows it. Crow right here. A lot of the companies were pretty darn happy with what the product that they had, and Condor's parent company can do etching like a beast. So I'd like to see that in other style knives later on. I think
there is a little bit of an inlay on there.
Yeah, check it out.
Here, let's put this up to the camera if Charlie can get that on there. So they're adding a little bit of more attention to detail to a lot of their items, and they're really pushing the envelope on them.
Gives it a little bit of sexy.
That's right.
We need sexy back in bushcraft.
That's
your job now is to put sexy back.
Bring the sexy back to bushcraft.
So we're going to be working on that. Maybe might have it in some knives. There's a reason why people get their guns scrolled and engraved, and it looks really cool, and it's yours. And I think it gives you a little bit of flavor when you have that on there. Now, if you don't like it, you can belt sand it off.
We were talking earlier about smaller knives and the trend now of a little bit smaller neck knife. I know that you've introduced one in. Can you talk about that and a little bit about your ideas behind the design of that?
Absolutely. Well, you know what the Crotalis was a couple years ago?
Yes.
That large knife was it still is very, very popular. And I was looking at it one day and I thought, man, this might make a really cool neck knife. Well, the blade shape was perfect for it. The handle would have been a little bit weird. You would have had that nub back there. And it's kind of hard to balance a neck knife that was it's either going to be 2 fingers or 3 fingers, because you go past 3 fingers and a neck knife length, and it's like almost a belt knife.
Right.
So trying to find that perfect handle balance is hard, but we did it with the mini. This is the pygmy knife. More or less, you could also call it the mini Crotalis if you'd like. How
do you find the handle that it doesn't roll in your hand at all? Because you got just enough swell on the back.
Exactly.
So
that teardrop shape is very common all the way to, if you look at some of the old case knives, there's that teardrop shape there, and that's why.
So you had a little bit of jimping, so you have control on top, and then you put a 90-degree spine towards the tip of the blade. So if folks are out there and you got to just scrape your ferro rod with your knife, I mean, there's a little bit of something for everybody on there.
Yeah, and even the jimping on this guy can help with the ferro rods too.
Oh yeah, it's aggressive enough.
Yeah, for sure.
And what kind of grind are you putting on this one?
This is a flat grind with more or less a convex bevel at the very end. They call it the Condor grind. It's just a convex grind.
Yeah.
So flat grind with the convex edge.
Cool. So there's a little bit of something new out there for everybody this year.
Yeah. We got some other knives too. And if you take a look at some of those old Japanese style knives, once again, they're sexy. And they're really, really cool. And if you start putting that together with micarta, this is unagi. It's a very small neck knife that is used for neck knife stuff. You can use it for everything from cardboard to whittling trap triggers to cutting off your cigar for WC Fields or whatever.
Yeah.
And I named it after the very popular sushi dish, which is eel, unagi. And it has a little bit of a Japanese flavor to it, but it still has a Scandinavian edge and a micarta handle.
I like that you guys didn't polish the micarta. That way, if your hands are wet or if the micarta gets a little bit wet, the handles are just going to get a little more grippier.
Right.
There.
You know, polishing micarta, as far as a company-wise, that takes a lot of material. It even causes a lot of pollution, even more, because you have to do really fine grinding. But it takes also forever.
Yeah.
And to get a good polish on a micarta piece is pretty difficult. So anytime you guys are investing in that from a custom knife maker, appreciate it, because it's hard to do.
Now, what kind of sheaths are coming with these?
Kydex.
Kydex sheaths? Cool.
Kydex it is.
Cool.
You know what I learned the other day, man? Kydex is on the inside of the airplanes that you travel in. That's all Kydex. It's the same material. So if you guys have any, like wrecked or abandoned airplanes around the area, you got a bunch of Kydex that you can use.
So yeah, so it's designed, you can hang it around your neck with a lanyard. I mean, you could even fashion something to maybe put it on your belt scout style if you wanted to.
Yeah, and we're trying to keep our Kydex really compact too. You know, you get a lot of extra stuff. It's just stuff, and it starts to take up room. And Kydex doesn't really need a lot of material to keep retention on the knife.
So what's neat is a lot of folks that have bigger knives, this is a great companion knife to keep with that for those small, fine, detailed tasks. So
your knife needs companions. Buy it a friend. We all need companions.
Yes, we do. We very much so. Any plans for this summer? I know that Bushcraft Global is going to South America again. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Bushcraft Global is a company that I started with a friend that lives down in Colombia. And every time we brought people down there, as you know, Andy's been down there, we learn a lot, and we learn what the people want, what they'd like to do more. Last time, everybody made at least 6 different objects besides a blowgun, all the way from a kuksa. You know, you'd think all the way in Europe I'd make this Scandinavian-style noggin. Well, we did it down in the jungle. It was really fun. All the way to baskets. And this year, we have the Matisse. The guy who came last year specifically requested to come back again because he had a lot of fun. You know, the tribal, he's actually a chief from the Matisse, chief of the Matisse tribe. Cool. Or what can be loosely translated as that. And he had a blast last year. Although he had a machete and he was going to put it up and it fell out of the sheath at the very end. He tried to catch it out of the air and ended up cutting up his hand at the very end. But he's fine. Those guys don't really bleed. They just go, oh, okay, this sucks. And
they're a different class of tough.
He spat on it and then just went along and then took his 12-hour boat ride up into Brazil.
Ouch.
So that's happening again. October, September. It's a 9-day trip. Costs $1,500 and you get a free tops knife, free tops machete with it. It's 9 days, all inclusive, except for the flight. And you get some serious bush time there.
And if folks want to learn more about that, how can they?
Bushcraftglobal.com.
Sweetness.
Global on YouTube and on Facebook. Definitely on Facebook. That's where the most stuff seems to happen.
Yeah.
It's so easy, just like post.
It's where all the cool people are at.
Yeah, man. Just a quick selfie and bam, it's up on Facebook. You have to do all this like coding and all that to get it on websites. I hate website stuff.
Well, Joe, thank you very much for being on the channel and showing us.
Hey, let's do a live show too.
Let's do it
again, man. That was really
fun.
You
heard it, folks. I got a commitment from Joe. Live show coming up. TBA to be announced. This is John with the Wingman 115 channel signing out.